You are listening to Rooted at West Oak, a podcast for stylists, salon owners, and beauty lovers, from hair color and extensions to business, growth, and real salon life. This is where it all starts. Welcome to the Rooted at West Oak podcast, where I, Daniel Stoffel, host, and I also have Emily Paszke with me here today. She's going to be one of my co-hosts and also going to be popping in and out of the podcast pretty frequently. Today is our first episode of the podcast, and we are super excited. We're going to go over all the details of who I am, but also who Emily is. As you guys heard in our previous episode, I basically gave you a rundown on who I was, and so now it is Emily's turn.
All right. Well, I'm Emily. I have been doing hair for 12 years and have been at West Oak for 9 of those now. Yeah, 9 years. I started as, 18-year-old hairdresser, went to hair school, got into a commission salon, lasted there for about a year, went straight into booth renting, was there for about a year, decided to open a salon with your sister. And
shout out to Sam.
And went from there. Decided a few years in that I like being my own boss better than I like being the boss.
Yes.
So took a step back from that. Decided, this is Sam and Dan's thing. This is what they thrive at. I don't like doing this. So took my own step back and kind of still am obviously in the salon here at West Oak, but more so just to be able to booth rent here and still be a part of a salon that feels like a commission salon, because it is technically a commission salon, but be able to have that, like that connection that you feel with others in a commission salon, but also with not having the umbrella of a commission salon. So since I had already been an independent stylist for so long, that was just the way to go for me and the way to stay. But yeah, for me, it was just from there focusing on color, extensions. I do a lot of bridal. I kind of dabble in and out of bridal. I'll decide that that's something that I really enjoy for a couple years, and then I take a step back, and then I get back into it. I like the freedom of that, and really that's my rundown when it comes to the career. I mean, I've done both. I've done the commission, I've done the booth rent, I've done the owning of a salon, I've done bridal, I've done all things extensions, I've done all things color, cutting, everything. So yeah, just lots of tools in this belt, I guess you could say, but here we are. Now podcast, add to that list.
Right. No, I really love that, because I feel like you and I are very much in a similar boat, where I was like, you're like my longest coworker. So I feel like you and I both simultaneously have obviously we have different careers, but very similar careers at that. So I've always felt like those have always aligned. So I feel like you are a perfect choice to have as a podcast co-host, because we very similarly are in that same boat. So let's talk a little bit about, I know that you had mentioned earlier that, you are kind of like a master of all. You kind of do all these different services, and you have spent the last 13 years really just trying to isolate what works best for you in this industry. And one of the questions I have for you is, over those 13 years, how did you figure out what lane of services you wanted to offer your clients? And also, in that lane, what gave you the most confidence?
So I think as far as deciding which lane I wanted to stay in, I think, like we said, with this industry, we have so many options, right? You can go into it, and we're kind of taught that from the time we decide to go into the beauty industry. They're like, oh yeah, you can own a salon, you can just do hair, you can not just, but you know what I mean?
Right.
You can stay behind the chair, you can teach, you can do all of these things. And I think for me, I dabbled in a lot of it, and then I decided to stick to the ones that excited me the most. So as far as services went, I picked the ones that I was like, okay, this excites me, and this is what I'm going to be able to get good at. Because if I'm not excited about it, if I'm like, I don't want to do this anyway, and I think that goes for learning in general with this field, is if you're not excited about it, it's going to be that much harder to learn. And if you're not interested in it at all, then why are you even trying? Because I think that that's where in this field, we were kind of talking the other day about so many people go to hair school thinking that it's not going to be what it is, and they think it's just going to be this easy way out, and they think that it's going to be like more so like just the easier option. But in reality, it's like, okay, if you have no interest in this, it's going to be hard. It's hard, but it's going to be so much harder for you if you have no interest in it.
Well, right. I feel like one of the things that I always tell, like I have a lot of clients who come in and they'll ask me questions about beauty school for their kids, right?
Yep.
And I always tell them, I'm like, it is such a great avenue to go into because you can make a very great successful career out of being a hairdresser, but you absolutely have to want to do it.
Yes, you have to love it.
There is no world where you come into this industry and you find success if you do not love it and you don't want to do it. And I think that is a little bit different than some careers where, well, obviously I've never worked in another career, but
Same, me neither.
From what I hear with other careers, a lot of people do not love their jobs and they're still going and they're still able to find success in it, even though they may not love it.
Yes.
And in this industry, it is going to just be so difficult because if you don't love it, you're not going to be able to put that effort into building your business.
Yes.
And one of the things that I feel like is misconception of the industry is regardless of if you're an hourly stylist, you are a commission stylist, you are a booth rent stylist, you are always working for yourself because you are always working to build your books and you're always working to build into your schedule whatever services are going to bring you the most success, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what type of industry or what kind of salon you're working in because you are the one who is responsible for being successful behind the chair.
Right.
Depending on your scenario, you may have a salon or a salon owner who is helping you with these things, but in reality, the only person who's going to make you successful in this industry is you. So if you don't love it, you're not going to want to push yourself forward.
No.
And you're not going to find the success because you're not loving it.
And I think that that's a big thing with, especially nowadays, like life is expensive and everything's expensive. And I think that people see that hair services are expensive and they see the dollar sign and they see like, oh, I want to make that kind of money. And it's like, okay, you want to make that kind of money, but you think that this is the easy way out to do it or just the easiest way to do it, like a quick, easy buck. That's not the case at all.
It couldn't be further from the truth.
It couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually one of the hardest, I feel like, most competitive industries to get to that point, to like charge the prices that we do, to be able to work the schedules that we do. Like, I think in general, it's such a hard... I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, me and you. So it's just, I think so many people go into it thinking, oh, it's going to be easy. It's going to be, I'm going to make money so quick. When in reality, I think that goes into leading back to your question, like how I picked to do the things that I do with this field is because I kind of picked and chose which ones, not that I was thinking were easy, but the ones that I was like interested in so that hard journey could be at least worth it to me. Or it's not. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, thought I liked this. Hate it. Go on a different route.
Right.
Well,
that's even, that's kind of a whole different, thing with the industry is you're able to kind of figure that out as you go. And I think as long as you have a support system of a salon that's able to help you guide yourself in that direction or whatever direction you need to go in, then that's one of the perks of this industry is, you may be a bridal specialist, you may be a color specialist, an extension specialist, a hair cutting specialist, a perm specialist, or you could be all of the above or none of the above.
Yep.
You could be just a bang trim or just a blowout or whatever stylist, And as long as you're able to find, value in the services that you're offering, and as long as there is a clientele for people or of people who are going to see the value in what you're offering, then you can find success.
Yes.
But I think one of the things, going back to what you had said with finding, your specific niche, I guess, with what you do behind the chair, I think that's one of the most daunting things in this industry, especially when you're starting out, because you have so little information on the industry when you're starting out. Like if you think back to like your first thoughts of even going to beauty school, right?
Oh yeah.
You're like, I'm going to beauty school. I'm going to learn how to do everything. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. So I think that's why there's a lot of this, like, almost like your expectation is broken because you don't know what to expect. So what you do expect is probably not going to be what happens.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where from the beginning, it's so difficult to know where you want to fall. And I think a lot of people feel a lot of stress and anxiety in this industry when they first start out with that. So that's why I more so wanted to know your insight on that.
Absolutely.
But also, too, I think in a whole different subset where you were talking about sometimes, you know, you can change your niche. All of a sudden, now you're 10 years into this industry and you're like, I hate everything I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I need to do a complete 180 and an entire reset. So you're back in that same position of, I don't know where I want to fall, you know? And I think that goes into, you know, here we are starting a podcast, right?
Yes.
This is an avenue that we've not tapped into yet. This is a space where we're brand new to it, but it's something that is going to hopefully be not only a lot of fun for us, but also hopefully very, you know, open for stylists, salon owners out there who want to see the reality of a Midwestern salon here in Ohio, right? So I don't know. I just think it's really interesting that, you know, that can change over time.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's interesting, but it's also one of the perks.
Yes.
It's like, okay, the amount of times I've just been like, you know, I don't want to do bridal anymore. And you've been there when I decided last time. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
And I think it depends on my phase of life and where I'm at. And I think that that's what's so nice about it is I can be like, you know what? Sick of weddings. I'm sick of missing birthday parties. I'm sick of missing my friends' stuff. Like, I'm sick of doing things, working on weekends. That's another thing. I don't work weekends.
Right.
Like, you can kind of just pick and choose. Granted, that's a whole other thing we'll get into eventually, I'm sure, how to get to that point. Because obviously starting out, that's not exactly the same freedoms are granted. But when you've been here for a while and you can kind of say, you know, this isn't working for me anymore. Or like you said, you can just kind of, I feel like every couple years, it might not seem like that to somebody who, even maybe somebody who does do hair, but especially somebody who isn't in this field might be like, oh yeah, Emily's been doing hair for this long. But the amount of times I've changed the things I'm focusing on is, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do color. Or no, I want to do extensions. I don't want to take any new clients that aren't extensions. Just kidding. Kind of want to do color again. Oh, I hate bridal. No, I actually love it again. Let's go back. And you can just switch it up and change it based on where you're at in your career and your life and what works best. And I think that's one of the best parts of this job and this industry in general.
No, I agree. I think the flexibility is great, especially if you're working in a space that supports that flexibility.
Yes.
Which, you know, we try very hard to as a salon. You know, West Oak tries really hard to be as accommodating and flexible with schedules as possible, while also still helping you maintain the success. And, you know, there are a lot of salons out there that will not do that, and there's a lot of salons out there that will do that. And I think it's really important to be able, no matter where you fall in the industry, no matter what type of stylist you are, to find a space that's going to support you and help you figure that out. Going into, you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about how we kind of change around what we offer, right, as individual stylists. What is a piece of advice that you might have for other stylists out there that would help them understand when the right time is to make that change?
I think that maybe my opinion on this is not necessarily, I don't want to say the right one.
Well, let's hear it.
But I just feel like, not knowing when, and when you're kind of questioning if this is something that I should do, I mean, at that point, the thought's there. Why not? Right. You know?
Why not?
And I feel like every single thing that I've done in this career that's been kind of worth it has been scary. Like when I decided to put the money into learning how to do it, any kind of extensions. When you make that choice to stop working certain hours, certain days, when you make the choice to cut certain services, I don't take new haircut clients.
Right.
And I haven't for years.
Right.
That was terrifying.
Right.
To say, okay, because you're going to get that feedback and that backlash of, well, you think you're just too good to cut people's hair.
Right.
I don't think I'm too good to cut people's hair, but I think that you deserve a stylist that wants to cut your hair.
Right. Well, and also, too, there's a big difference, I think, between, you thinking that you are too good to cut hair and you trying to build your business in a direction that doesn't involve hair cutting.
Yeah.
There's two separate things. You know, we don't have to be everything all the time. And I think sometimes maybe to customers or clients, it might feel that way. But I guess something that I would challenge them to think about is, you know, when you are in your job and you're in your career and you want to pivot into a direction that maybe is promotion, like a promotion, or maybe even if it's just lateral, you know, you're trying to shift into a new position. And you want it for one reason or another. It's the same thing as hairdressers, right? Just because we decide to no longer offer a service or decide to bring on a service, it doesn't mean that we just think we're better or too good at something.
No.
It's just we just no longer have the space or the time to be able to worry about that service because we're trying to focus on something better or something that we think is going to build us up and be able to have us not only have a better career, but also be able to offer a better experience for the clients who fit in that new niche, you know?
Yes. And I think that for me, when I transitioned out of taking like new haircut clients, because I still have like a couple of my clients who have been with me from day one who they still get color and then in between they need haircut. Like I don't take brand new like walk-in haircut clients. But I remember when I was getting away from it and there was a point where I wasn't taking haircuts at all. Some of my best friends were going to other stylists that I referred them to in the salon because I was like, I don't want to cut your hair because that's not where my interest is lying, but also not where my business is going. Like I'm trying to book extension and color clients who are taking up anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of my day for one appointment. If I have a 6-hour gap on my books and a haircut books in the middle of that for an hour, now I've got two completely different gaps in my day that a extension or color client could not fit into. And that's the books I'm trying to build. But when I was getting away from doing just strictly haircuts, I remember telling clients, if you could pick and choose the parts of your job that you did and did not want to do, would you do it?
That's so good.
And that was how I kind of explained it. I was like, I don't want to do haircuts anymore. So if you didn't want to do that at your job and your boss said, you don't have to do those, would you still keep doing them?
Right.
Probably not.
No.
Because you don't like doing them. And they weren't feeding into my business and helping me grow the way that I was going in that direction at that time. It wasn't helping me. Right. So now that I have, over the years, changed my schedule, changed services around, changed a bunch of stuff around, it's a little bit different now.
Right.
But back then I was like, I am building this clientele. I don't have room for these clients my extension clients that I'm wanting to get on my books. If I can do one row install move up in an hour or a haircut in an hour and make, I'm sorry, 5 times more.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Absolutely.
You're telling me you wouldn't do that either?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it definitely, I think that one of the things, and we can totally make this a podcast episode as I am thinking about this, but I think that there definitely is still some stigma on hairdressers where this is not deemed to be a real professional career. And so, God forbid us try to actually regulate and figure out a productive and not only productive, but actually lucrative way to do hairdressing.
Yes.
I think sometimes some people think that, you know, they come in and they get such a great experience and it's so much fun that it's the same for us. And it is. But this is our career. This is how we make money. And there needs to be an organized and professional way for us to be able to maximize our profits, just like any other business.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Here at West Oak, you are not only a 13-year seasoned stylist who specializes in color extensions and bridal, but you also mentor. You mentor some of our younger stylists that are coming through. And not necessarily young in age, but just young in the industry.
Yes.
As well as you now are branching out into doing stuff like this with our podcast, and you got a whole bunch of different things going on throughout the days. What is something that you particularly enjoy about your workday at West Oak?
I love the atmosphere here. I love having that coworker. I think so many times if you've been in like a booth rent situation and you've been in like a suite and you're alone all by yourself all day, it's hard to sometimes deal with that. I think that, because I've done it, you know, I've been in, like I said, I've been in commission, I've been in booth rent, I've done the suite thing. I feel like some of my hardest days, not even days, like sometimes it's nice to just like come in, do your job, go home, you know. But I genuinely look forward to coming in and having coworkers.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, sometimes I get on my schedule in the morning and I see which of my clients are coming in. But I'm also like, okay, who am I working with though?
Yeah.
Does so-and-so have clients today? Is Dan taking anybody today? What time does he get in? What time is Sam coming in? What time is, you know, I think that is part of the fun of this job. Yeah. It makes
it's nice to have that camaraderie.
Yeah, camaraderie. That's a great word for it. And I think that's the word I was looking for earlier when we were talking about it. I have said since day one, hairdressers need other hairdressers.
Yes, we do.
Even if you are a booth rent and you work independently and you are in a suite and you are crushing it, there is going to be a time when you feel like, oh my gosh, this client, this appointment, this day drained me, and I have nobody to talk about this to. There is, even if it's just the amount of times we go back and spitball formulas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is in a day is insane.
Yep.
And I think that going back to like the mentorship and helping these newer, younger, less seasoned stylists.
Right.
Just helping them learn. And you and I say all day, we teach very differently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We teach very differently. And I think that is so special about it.
Yeah.
Is that I always say, like, Dan teaches with such a, almost like a scientific, mathematic, like
know.
But you make so much sense.
Thank you.
And I love it. And then they come assist me and they're like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, oh, just because this is how I do it. And it works. And it's never failed me. And I think that that's what's nice about hairdressing in general is like everybody has a little bit of both. But I think that you're learning so many different things from so many different people. And those girls get to come in and see, Dan does it this way and it works. Emily does it this way and it works. And I see so many girls come through here and I'll like watch them do something. I'm like, oh, she learned that from Dan. Or even the way they talk. Yeah. Like you said that. I said that to one of our assistants the other day. I'm like, I just know you just talked about this with Dan.
What was it?
It was the snowstorm stuff. Molly said, did you know that in the snowstorm in the 70s, the snow didn't melt until
No,
blah,
but
blah,
it
blah.
didn't. It literally snowed in like February and then it didn't all the way melt until like mid-April.
But it was funny because I looked at her and I said, I know that you just talked about this with Dan because that is such a Dan fun fact. But I'm sure that there are things that these girls do sometimes that you're like, I know that Emily told you to do that.
Right.
And Sam's been on me for that before, where we had an assistant a couple months ago where before she miss you, Emma. She moved home, but
Shout out to Emma.
We miss you. We love
New
you.
Hampshire no longer in the house.
Yeah. Sad. But I remember I asked her something. And I don't even want to repeat it because you're going to also yell at me.
No.
And I'm like, did you do this? And she said, no, you told me not to. You told me we were going on vibes. And Sam looked at me and she goes, I hope you did not tell her that. And I said, I so did. And I'm so sorry. But for me and for her, those are two totally different things.
Yeah.
She's learning. For me, I'm like, okay, I have that internal, like,
well, there definitely is a big difference between the vibes of a 13-year hairdresser and the vibes of a 6-month hairdresser.
There totally is.
There's 13
and that was my bad.
Yes.
That was my bad.
No, but I get what you're getting at because it's very much, I think one of the biggest values that I feel like you bring as a mentor is that alternative approach.
Yes.
And I do think that I can be a little bit more scientific or analytical with the actual formulation of color theory.
But you are the head of education here, so you have to be.
Yes.
And that's where it's like, you're like father. I'm like, cool, big sis, you know? Is that fair to say?
That's fine. No, but I do think there's a lot of value when you're learning because you can see it from the scientific approach. You can see the actual science behind why this is important, why we would or wouldn't mix something together. And then you can see the I guess I would say just the more relaxed form of what that looks like. Because obviously you're not just randomly mixing things together.
Absolutely not.
There is a rhyme or reason for things.
There is a method to my madness, and I do say that all the time. There is a method. Sometimes I don't know what the method is. Sometimes it's just been what's worked for me. But I think that is where it comes into play, is like when you're fresh out of school and you're taught textbook, and you're like, oh my gosh, if I don't blow dry this very specific way, my blowout's going to suck. I'm not going to be able to do this. It's not going to do this. But I think that that's also what's so freeing about working in a salon surrounded by so many people who do so many different things. It's like, oh, I can do this differently and still get a beautiful result. I can do this, maybe not the way that was only textbook in school. Like, this is more salon reality. I mean, obviously you're really in a salon, but that's where people can kind of grow and adapt to whatever different methods and ways that we're doing things.
Right.
But by seeing that many different people doing different things and still putting out, I mean, let's be real, amazing work. We have so much talent and hard work in this salon.
No, it's actually really crazy.
It's insane.
And I think what's crazy is no matter at what point in the industry or what time in West Oak's history, I have always felt that way.
Yes.
So I know without a shadow of a doubt, it is me, Sam, you, Andrew, and honestly, I would even lump Alicia in with that as well, because Alicia has been here for 6 years. She has, Alicia is our esthetician, as you know, and she's just phenomenal, but she completely sees the aesthetic side of things, and that's not, I don't see that, so I'm not an esthetician. So I would say I would definitely feel that because of the five of us, the salon really is what it is.
Yes.
I guess more so I would say on the education and the quality of what's being put out there work-wise is totally on us. Obviously, we would never take credit for the work of the apprentices, the level 1s through 3 stylists. Absolutely not, because the work that they do behind the chair is theirs. They do it, and it is 100% successful because of them. But by us giving them that support system and by us being able to help raise them up in that way, that is what's going to help give them the longevity of the success.
But that's also, I think, the difference between a salon and this, we've also talked about having this as an episode, is like commission salons have such a bad rep.
Yeah.
They get such a bad rep. And it is so hard to explain why commission can be good and why I understand why people shy away from it. But I do think that when it comes to commission salons, it's a lot easier to, I don't want to say control, but like you're setting the tone.
Yes.
For what is happening and what kind of work there's a standard that's set, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that is something to be said for commission in general, but this salon in particular. I think that the standard that we set here as far as work alone is incredible, because I mean, when you're surrounded by people who are turning out great work, you want to turn out great work.
That is something that Jason had mentioned to me, because he was telling me, he was like, I don't know what this is his words, not mine. He goes, I don't know what it is, but he was like, being surrounded by hairdressers makes you better.
It absolutely
does. Because you are, and it's not a vicious competition. It is very much, you see what other people are doing, so you want to at least be on par.
Yes.
Because you want to feel like you are, I guess, collaboratively working in the same space.
Yeah.
Well, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And he had mentioned that to me because obviously, he works in a suite by himself, and he's got a few people that he talks to, and he's friends with there, but it's very much they're all busy and they're all in their room by themselves.
Yeah.
And, he's like, one of the things I just really, really miss is just being able to work alongside people and see how they're communicating, how they're applying color, how they are letting people process, the conversations, intertwining conversations together, and really being able to just be around the community, that is something that he brought up.
I agree with that though, because I think even in a sense of having that trust in your coworker, so being independent, being where I'm at, like with pricing and stuff like that, I love to be able, like you said, it's not even a competition thing. If anything, it's like, I love knowing if my price goes up and somebody's like, I'm not paying that. I'm like, okay, cool. Hers are cheaper than mine and she's going to give you great work.
Yep.
I love being able to say, oh, you can go to so-and-so. If I'm sick, if I'm on vacation, somebody needs in.
Yep.
And I'm like, listen, I'm not there. Guess who else you can go
Absolutely.
to? I can give you a recommendation that I wholeheartedly stand by because one, we're representing the same exact company. But two, I probably helped train that person.
Yes.
And three, I know that the girls that I'm closest to, I know everybody's turning out great work, but I'm like, I can also give you personalities that I think yours will mesh well with.
Right.
I know these girls personally. I can say, love her dearly. Don't think you guys would be a good fit as stylist and client, but you can go to her.
Right.
You know, I think that is something that doesn't have to be a competition type setting. It's something that's so, camaraderie is a great word for it, but it genuinely is. I hate saying like, a team, but like it is kind of.
It builds the aura. It builds the vibe. The vibe is better. The aura is better. The energy is better. And I know those are all, but like it's just the entire experience I feel like does become better for you as a stylist when you have somebody who is going through the same thing you're going through work right next to you.
Yes.
And the thing is like how for like with Jason, he could walk next door in this suite and be like, hey, you have a second to talk about this situation. But the thing is when you're independently, when you're in those independent rooms, a lot of people are independent for a reason and they don't want to be bothered or spoken to or whatever.
That and it can be kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Like if you're kind of having a freak out moment where you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Yes.
You have to leave the room.
Yes.
Whereas we can walk to the back and dispense and be like, I'm just going to go grab this real quick.
Yeah.
And it's no biggie. But when your whole business is in one room.
Is within 175 square feet.
Yeah. It's a different vibe completely. Yeah. But I fully agree. I think that is like one of the biggest things. Because Sam and I used to work in suites side by side.
Yep.
And there were days where if Sam wasn't there, I'd go into a panic. Because I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, you have to think I was a suite owner at 21, 22. Yeah, I turned 21 in that suite. Wow. Yeah, I had been doing hair for maybe 2 years.
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild. Crazy. But I think that I missed very much. I obviously had one of my best friends working in the room next door. But God forbid she's sick that day. Right. Then what do I do?
Right.
And I mean, it's just I was so young and I was still so new. And I think that it is a very hard, in some circumstances, in some environments, it can feel competition.
Right.
So I think that goes back to we've kind of helped to build it to be where it doesn't feel that way. And I think our clients pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think clients come in here
and
they
pick
know,
up on a lot.
Yes. I think they come in here and they don't think, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of like, she doesn't like her and he doesn't like her and she doesn't like him. I don't think it's like that at all. I think that for honestly, most of the time, we have clients who will be like, turning around trying to talk to each other and we have that so often, or turning around, like my last client goes, how did your assistant like her extensions? Because she remembered that from the last time she came in. So it's not looked at as a competition or a competitive atmosphere at all. And I think that part of it makes it so much better for one, a stylist, but two, a client.
Right. No, I agree. What is something that you would love to be able to get out of hosting this podcast?
Honestly, I just want to have some fun. I think I have been in this industry for so long that we talked about ruts and kind of feeling like you start doing the same thing. And I think I'm just excited to try something new. And it is a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Right, yeah. Anything new is.
Anything new is. And I think that this is just something that it's been on the table for a hot minute. And it will get discussed and then dropped and discussed and dropped. I mean, over years, truly.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to do something that's related to like the industry and beauty and hair and all things behind the scenes. And honestly, put the knowledge that I have and that you have and that we have together and experiences out there for other people. Because I feel like we maybe sometimes get that imposter syndrome of like, oh, I can't possibly know that much. And then it's like, oh, wait, yeah. I guess I do. I do have a little seasoning there that I could add to this.
Well, if you're formulating off of vibes, I know that you definitely do have some experience.
I definitely have some experience.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I think that I would love just to get out of this myself is I would love to be able to just have an open-ended conversation with any hairdressers, any salon owners, any booth renters, any commission stylists, anybody who is, invested in the beauty industry in any way. Just, I want to be able to have a creative space, an open space where we can all communicate and where maybe clients can learn something new or maybe hairdressers can learn something new. I just think it'll be a really great way for us to be able to build those connections with people.
Perfect.
So I want to just say thank you very much to everybody who has listened so far. If you've been able to make it through about 30 minutes of our first episode together. Again, my name is Daniel Stoffel. I am the owner of West Oak Salon in Canal Winchester, Ohio. And we have Emily with us today, Emily Paszke. She's been a stylist for 13 years, very seasoned. And we cannot wait to host more episodes and talk to you guys more. Thank you so much.